Hi everyone, welcome to the Digital Fintech Show. Today we have with us Akash Sinha, who's a co-founder and CEO of Cashfree Payments. Cashfree is one of the best, I think one of the most innovative payment platform in the country. And the way they have been growing, the way they have been experimenting in new areas is fabulous. And of course, they are now getting into a new segment called ePOS, which is again moving from a payment gateway business to actually on the offline business as well. Thanks Akash for joining us. Great to have you on board.
Thank you, Samir, for having me here today.
Great. In fact, I use your platform as well, right? I know that when I go back to my team and they say, "Inka platform chalta hai." So we've tried with some other guys and we were not getting enough responses. But I think we have been using primarily for our education platform, and the reports and all are great. So thank you for that. But before we go further, I think Akash, it will be useful for us to understand a bit more about Cashfree, because this has been making a lot of positive noises in the market. I think payment gateways were always done and dusted with. We always thought there's no more opportunity. But I think you have come with a lot of new ideas, and the way you are operating across payments as well as so it's good for us to understand what you guys are into and how you're building your firm.
Sure, Samir, I can give you I can spend a few minutes on what we do today and why we decided to do that. So today, Cashfree is one of the largest payments platform in India, and we primarily serve online businesses who has needs around collecting payment from the customer and dispersing money back to their customer, or vendor, or who has need around recurring payments, someone who wants to collect money from customer periodically. So these are three larger use cases we support, but we have a bunch of other products. But before going to the product, I'd like to mention why we started this kind of platform. Right? I think almost 6.5 years back, right, when we started this company, what we found in the market, right, all the incumbent players were not really using the power of digital payments to solve all the other payment problems of the merchant. Right? They were just focusing on one single use case, just trying to solve it. Right? But when the entire internet boom happened in India back in 2014, 15, 16, right, you had tremendous growth in the mobile penetration. Right? The internet was being omnipresent. The speed was going up after this 3G, 4G revolution. And that time, a lot of offline business models were coming to online. And these guys had a lot of requirement around their online money movement problems. But all the incumbent payment gateway companies or payment companies are just, as I said, are focusing on one problem. So that's when we found the gap. We felt digital payment is very powerful too. And we should be able to use to solve all the money movement problems for the merchant instead of just focusing on the one. Right? That was the idea we started this company. On the day one, we had 4 products. Right? We had products around collection, we had products around dispersal, we had products around like NEFT, RTGS. We also product around marketplace settlement, and we are progressing by using that idea. Today, Cashfree will become a portal. We already have made a great products, but eventually it will become a portal which will solve all the payment problems of business in India, right? Around be it the collecting money from customer, be it collecting money from overseas, be it dispersing money to their customers, their vendors, or even in future be it around distributing banking products to their customers. Right, so that's the idea of the company: single stop solution for all the platform banking needs, and we are progressing on that vision, and we have been doing well. I think luckily, things have worked out so far, and we are happy to be in a state where we are not right now.
And maybe as part of it, it'll be good to have a quick view of your own background, right? I think you're doing it at such a young age, so it'll be good quick view on how this company came all about.
Sure. So before starting this up, right, as I said, we started in 2015, and I was working at Amazon that time. I worked there almost 2.5, 3 years. I was part of the e-commerce team, and from there I learned a lot about this entire online, basically like internet economy, right? The entire purchase ecosystem, entire ordering ecosystem, and that gave me a bit of idea about how e-commerce hyperlocal works. My other co-founder Riju was also working at a e-commerce company based out of India. He was working in the marketing team there. So we both came from industry or internet growth, and that's when we started reading the market and found this payment problem to be there. And we just took a dive. We left our job in mid of 2015 and started around September. And before that, I worked very briefly at Bangalore. It was a Chennai-based, company in a personal finance space. And I graduated from college in 2012. Right. So I think Cashfree has been the longest stint in my professional, work career, and it's almost twice than what I've spent time outside of Cashfree.
No, phenomenal. I think great growth. Absolutely great. No, I think so. You were in digital space, and online payments is what you are solving, right? But the offline business is also changing dramatically.
Yeah.
Now we see entry of soft POS, ePOS, whatever you call. So, and this is growing, I mean, rapidly right now. And there's obviously the old world people trying to utilize their own current framework. So, and I mean, market is right now looking at people like you to launch something like that. So, maybe can you want to quickly give me some idea about this soft POS, what this business is all about, and what is the development happening in India and worldwide?
Sure, sure. See, before that, I'd like to help you with the motivation, like why we decided to build it. As I said, our intention has always been to how do we utilize digital payments to solve more problems for the merchant. Right? We started with payment gateway that helped them collect money from the customers in the best way. Then we started, like auto collect that help any merchant collect any FT RTGS. We started payouts that helps any merchant dispersing money to their customer and vendor. Right? We started connected banking. We started Cashflow, and also after a while we figured this is a market where we haven't touched, but this market can gain tremendously by using the power of digital payments. Right today, if you look at the offline market, they don't have the kind of convenience or even the options which online merchants enjoy. Today, an online merchant can easily offer 100, 120 modes to their customer. But if you go to offline space, they just have 2 or 3 modes. Right? Even they don't have a lot of confidence around them. They just want to fall back to the modes which are easy to operate and modes which are more reliable, right? Which is like a debit card, credit card. And now UPI has taken over at a lot of large establishment. Right? But still, the challenge is similar. So India is home to around 6.5 crores of SMEs, right? And if you look at the entire offline payment collection market, right, it has been primarily driven by card machine, EDC machines. The problem with those machines is, right, and they are first very, very, very costly, right? You have to pay around 40 to 50K just to purchase them. And if you don't want to purchase them, you have to pay a rental fee of somewhere around 600 to 1,000 rupees, right? But for a merchant whose transaction acceptance is not in a very high frequency, right, who do not go like consumers regularly want to pay using card, right? So that doesn't act like incentive to go and buy a EDC machine. Right. Second, the cost is high, right? If I'm running a low margin business, right, I don't want to, like pay that much of rental just for the machine. Right. Third, I think maintenance cost is very high. If something goes wrong with my machine, I have to wait for 10 days, sit for 10 days, call the company who has given me the machine, wait for the maintenance. And for the 10 days, I can, I have to fall back to the cash. Right. So the plan was to how do we use the power of digital payments? How do we make offline payment acceptance cheaper? How do we make offline payment acceptance as exciting as the online? Right. Fourth is how can I, like use this medium to create more and more payment mode in the offline space. So that was a large idea. Like, empowering merchants in the offline world. And see, as a company, we don't see the world as offline, online, right? I mean, we have stopped seeing it that way, right? It's all digital payments. Wherever digital payment has a use case, we want to be there. And this is the first step we have taken in the offline. But again, the idea was to use digital payments in more use case for us instead of looking at introducing digital payments in the offline space, right? So just to wrap it up, so SoftPOS is a technology through which any merchant in the offline world install an app of Cashfree. And once the app is installed, you can accept card payments in your store just by tapping your card on the mobile. Right? Experience is very similar to what a customer sees right now with EDC machine. It's just that as a merchant, it becomes very convenient for you to accept those payments. And it's definitely much more cost efficient to you.
So maybe just to explain all over again, you're saying that if I have a mobile, which is let's say Android, and I download an app, I can, and of course, with a bit of a security built in, I can actually convert my mobile into a POS machine.
That's the idea. You need to have an Android. I think Android with a version Android 5 above, right? Android 5, I think it came around 2014, so the acceptance is high. And you download Cashfree app. You create an account with Cashfree separately. Once the account is created, account is activated, you log into your app with your username, password, or PIN. Once you're logged in, as soon as customer walks in, you just open Cashfree app, enter the amount, and mobile would be ready to read any card. Right. When the mobile is ready, customer can tap their card on the mobile and payment is done. Right. You don't need PIN for transaction up to 5K limit, which is the current limit set by RBI. Right. And along with it, there are other modes we have added. Right. You can accept card payment, plus you can also accept UPI payment from the same ePOS device. Right. So basically, you can generate QR code in the mobile and customer can pay. We are also adding a bunch of BNPL option there, buy now pay later option, which offline merchants don't enjoy that much. Right. I mean, they just have option to accept credit card and debit card. Right, but with Cashfree ePOS, you can have a bunch of BNPL options the customers can also utilize in the offline space. Plus, we are building a lot of EMI product as part of it, right? That will help you increase conversion in your store. Right? If you're an owner, if you see a decline, suppose you are selling a product of 10,000 rupees, right? And customers, if they don't have a right credit option, they may not choose to purchase from a shop, right? They can go to a shop which is giving them the EMI option or credit option. So that again, ends up in merchant losing the customer. So with the ePOS, they can also have a very easy financing option on the app itself, and customer can choose those options, right? Cardless EMI, BNPL, credit card EMI, and of course UPI, right? So you have all the modes built in, right? And you can use it to give convenience to the customer. Plus, you can also use it to improve conversion in your store.
Oh, this is interesting. And this is interesting. And you will basically, given that it's I would say backend is known to you, you might actually end up integrating backend their platforms as well, right? So that the end-to-end reconciliation from a shopkeeper also works out, right?
True. So everything is on cloud. So as soon as payment is confirmed, you can see the entire data on your Cashfree dashboard. Plus, we have the entire integration of API and webhook through which you can integrate a ERP. You can also integrate a backend website app, right? So you can have a very centralized payment experience if you're using Cashfree for both your online or offline use case. Right? If you look today's market, right? I mean, people are not just restricted to one channel. Right? You may start with as a apparel store in the offline one, but you may also want to have an Instagram account or even a Shopify account or any kind of web presence. Right, and best part, you can use Cashfree everywhere. You can come back to Cashfree dashboard, and you can see all the revenue collection at a single place. Right? You don't have to reconcile multiple payment parties to know your revenue. So that is additional lifesaver for the entire finance team, accounting team. Right, be it your refund management, be your dispute management, everything as a single dashboard, and your life will become very easy if you use Cashfree ePOS in your offline setup.
Phenomenal. So maybe we want to talk about a bit of a value add to the merchant, because technically I'm also a merchant, right? I find it very very painful to have multiple modes of receiving the money. People think of POS or a POS framework as a very expensive one, right? Now, how do you get them to understand that the pricing is different, right? So maybe you want to talk about how do you make it viral to the people, right? Otherwise, a cost of acquisition may be very high. So maybe quick thoughts on how people will be able to use it. How will they today are going on your gateway? I mean, I came on gateway without doing much, right? And your integration was very fast. We got on our education platform within a day and all, right? So how would the physical part? Maybe we want to quickly give a quick view on that.
See, that is the idea around distribution. See, ePOS for Cashfree is a software solution, right? You don't have to leave your home to buy this, right? You don't have to go to a shop, you don't have to meet anyone. Right, you can just come to Cashfree website, request for ePOS. Once your account is activated, we can send you a link, right? And it will also be on their Android app store. You can download the app, right, or from the app store itself. You create an account and you log in, right? The best part is, there is no cost around any device. We are not giving you a device. We are just giving a software app, right? So there won't be any fee which is similar to what you pay for a bulk hardware device, right? So it's very easy. You can get started within hours, right? You don't have to wait for days. Within 4 to 5 hours, you can get started. Right, there might be some standard fee around transaction discount rate and some fee around in the monthly maintenance. Although fee would be 1/10 of what you are paying in the offline world for the hardware machine. Right. Plus maintenance is easy. If you want to activate more modes, you can just come to Cashfree website, let us know which all modes you want to be activated, and we can keep activating remotely. Right. There is no human intervention required in managing your entire ePOS. If you want to have more BNPL, you can just let us know. We could come and activate it. And we can also create a lot of user guide, right? Be it text, be it video, be it audio. You can just read through it and you will know how to operate this system. Right. We already have very great documentation. We already have a lot of videos on YouTube, right? Which tells you how to use Cashfree dashboard. And we also are going to create a lot of videos around ePOS itself. Right. So the entire education will be self-serve, right? Anyone in that merchant or in their family, right? They can go through the video and they can tell them how to use this app. So entire, and people would feel more confident once they've understood it, right? Today with hardware machine, you still don't know how to operate it. Right? Imagine that if you're making a payment, for some reason hardware machine switches off. The merchant doesn't know how do I find the history, right? It's a very cumbersome job. They have to find a technician or someone who's expert in their shop to come and find the history, and then they can tell customer that the payment has been confirmed. Right? Today, everyone in India knows how to use WhatsApp, Facebook, and basic apps. Right? So this software technology is built in a way for people who already know how to use mobile phone. And the searching of an entire data, right, or doing any kind of operation will be very seamless. Right? They don't feel like they're using a different kind of product, right? They feel like they're using an app, and that is the best part of this, right? You can use a very simple, user-friendly app. They accept payment, run your business without thinking a lot, without having to take a stress about doing anything wrong.
I think where you are heading is that once you have captured the digital side, you are on the offline side, and maybe I'm sure you will come back with an SDK, will get embedded into something else. Every app will then become a POS device, I guess. So I think that's where the world is heading. The way you guys are building. I think maybe this is a use case. Maybe the next one on the radar as well, right?
That's how it should be, right? See, use cases are immense. So you get example of this all the delivery guys, right? I mean, any hyperlocal company will have delivery guys in the range of 1 to 2 lakh, and it's impossible for them to buy hardware machine for them. That's completely impossible. Even for a regular e-commerce company, right, who cannot have their orders, predicted so well, right? Because these guys will have, say, like extremely flux in orders during, say, shopping season, right? But they cannot afford to ramp up their POS device on the ground during that season, right? Because they have to buy it, and otherwise that inventory will just sit idle, right? In those two scenarios, one, we have very large fleet. Second, where orders spike in certain season, right? It's not feasible for you to rely on a very physical device. So in those solutions, software will help you auto scale and auto scale down very fast. Right. So that is one use case we are going after. Second use case, suppose you are managing a large shop, right? Today, everyone has to stand in a queue for the checkout. With this kind of solution, you can have a checkout on the shop floor itself, right? People can just stand anywhere. They can check out without even going to a specific queue. The third is we also have a lot of flea market or this kind of market being set up in the cities, whenever they want, right? Again, they don't have to buy a device for something which is temporary. They can just install the app, use it for 10, 15 days. They can choose to not use it and choose it again for after say 3 to 4 months. Right? So the entire usage will become very easy. It's more like, like on the go, right? You just install it, use it, and you don't have to pay anything for not using it.
I think the one question is coming in my mind is that while there's such great use cases and the costing side, why the market is not has not taken as fast as, so what are the challenges and how you are going to solve for that?
See, market has been growing. If you look at the contactless card penetration, it's close to 20% now in India, right? The number of cards which are being issued by banks are also contactless, right? I think after 2016 or 17, all the cards which were issued have been contactless. If you look at other larger markets, say US, right? US is a pretty developed market. I think by end of this year, 80% of cards in US would be contactless, right? So India is also moving very fast in terms of contactless distribution. I think today acceptance 20% is a significant jump, right? 20% payments are contactless in India. Right? It is being done through hardware machine, but in terms of the supply, we are there. Right? This technology is very new. This is just a 3-year-old technology, and a lot of things were pretty hard to do earlier. Now all the scheme, Visa, Mastercard, they have come up with their own SDKs, right? So building it, making it secure is slightly easier, right? So that's why this is the right time to start with this kind of product. I don't think we are late, right? And people are also willing to use contactless, right? The behavior is there in the market. It's just that we have to work on the acquiring area, right? Today the acquiring area is weak. Like you don't find a lot of contactless acceptance in the market, so easily. Right. Even though you go to a lot of establishment with the EDC store, right? Even there, they say, contactless is something. I'm not sure whether this will be accepted, right? Because they might be having a very older EDC machine, right? They haven't upgraded it because of the cost, right? I mean, if you have spent 50K on machine, I would want to use it for 2 years, right? I cannot move to something else. So you're going to start with use cases where EDC machine hasn't made an entry or have not been successful, right? Once we start, becoming a leader there, then we'll start going more mainstream and see, how can we change the behavior. Right? Because with this kind of innovation doesn't make things faster always, right? It changes the behavior in the market and make things much easier and much simpler. And that is what we are anticipating to see in the market once we release it in a bigger way.
No, and the current players will also not be as aggressive because they already have devices. So we understand that game. But let's move on. I think you are also coming back with a white paper on ePOS. So maybe you want to quickly give a quick high-level view on what we should be all looking forward in that white paper, which is coming shortly, right?
I think there are 3 major areas we want to cover. First, this technology is very new to Indian market, right? We want to do our best bet on educating the people, like what this technology is, how secure this technology is, how easy it is for them to use it, right? And how can this technology benefit them? The second, we also want to cover about the use cases, right? What are the current use cases we can support it, right? It could be delivery, it could be anything around, like busting the queue. It could be anything around giving the checkout option to customers, wherever they are, right? Plus, a lot of home collection happens in India where people just rely on cash and check, right? So the war is again on the cash primarily, right? I mean, we already have done payment penetration, but cash usage is still high in India, right? So that is the number one. I'd say the antagonist we are going to target, right? Go and target cash, try to reduce cash and make the soft POS route possible. Third is we're going to talk a lot about possibility, right? The problem that I mentioned earlier, right? Offline world doesn't enjoy the payment convenience which online merchants do. The number of payment modes are very limited, right? So we are also seeing the soft POS as a platform through which payment mode could be distributed in the market. It's suppose tomorrow you come back with a new payment method. Today, as a payment issuer, I have to be partnered with Visa and Mastercard, right? Because otherwise I cannot have acceptance in the market. Right? But with this kind of solution, the acquiring system could be created overnight. You don't have to find a very large scheme, right? And advantage is you can reduce your payment acceptance cost. You don't have to pay interchange. You don't have to pay any kind of membership fee, right? You can just reduce the payment cost. And that is very much important. If you have to make entry into a lot of credit penetration in the market, And that could be done through a lot of payment modes which will get created. Today, you have a bunch of BNPLs, right? BNPLs in the online world work in a closed loop manner. In the offline world, they have to take the help of all these schemes because they cannot have universal acceptance. But tomorrow, with this kind of product, they can create acceptance overnight without having to tie up with any kind of say larger network. So that's the advantage. I think it will help fintech ecosystem to innovate and like distribute the product faster. And it's definitely much more helpful for the merchants, right? Especially SME merchants out in the market.
Phenomenal. I think so. ePOS is the next revolution round the corner. I think
next 5 years. I think people will forget what the hardware machine is because again, it doesn't make economic sense, right? And convenience also, I think in over years will make it as much better than what like current hardware can provide.
So maybe I think you've understood the ecosystem well on the POS side. Maybe you want to quickly give a view on overall where is as an organization you are heading, and as part of it, maybe you can also give us a view on your own entrepreneurship journey and some advisory to the audience here, because they're really looking up to young guys, guiding them how they can become successful as well, right? So they're looking up to role models like you.
Right. See, I think on the first part, I think digital payments has been a cornerstone for the company. We came out as an innovator in that space, and that is the spirit we want to continue, right? As I said, we started with payouts, payment gateway, connected banking. Today, we are doing a lot of things around cross-border payment, which is a very important field for anyone who's exporting outside of India, right? We are starting with this in entire soft POS technology. Plus, we're also venturing into banking product, like helping any merchant create new account, helping any merchant create cards. Right, so that is the direction we have taken. We want to be leader in the entire digital payment solutioning space. And we have been lucky enough to get a lot of success, right? I mean, we have been able to bring new innovative products, right? Set a benchmark around pricing, quality, user behavior, and made them successful, right? And we have a lot of confidence about repeating the same thing multiple times, right? Because we have done that in past, already few times. And this is something we have found very few payment companies in India have done that, right? It's not easy to come up with something brand new, make it successful, right? And make it larger. So that's where we have slightly higher sense of confidence. And that will also motivate us to keep on experimenting. Right, we don't have to think a lot about what is the downside. We normally look at the upside. We see this is a large enough market, this is a complex problem, and we find ourselves going after such problems. And that is also aligned with the idea of entrepreneurship. Right? As an entrepreneur, you should always go after problems which are hard, right, and which has a larger market. Right, these are the two like constant things you can like stick to. Then everything falls in line. Right, suppose you work very hard, but if the market is small, you will not get rewarded. Second is you're going after problems which are slightly easy enough to solve, and I'm sure you'll have hundreds of competition, coming up to overnight, right? So you can take time, you can acquire right skill, you can acquire right experience, but jump into the areas which are harder because those problems will make a larger impact, right? That will bring delta of in the order of 5 to 10x in the market, right? And that will also become very gratifying to any entrepreneur who is venturing into this space. Plus, again, people shouldn't wait a lot, right? You don't have to find all the data points to be in the place. You shouldn't wait. You don't have to wait for a perfect time to start it, right? As soon as you have few things figured out, I think you should jump in. And obviously, you will make mistakes, you will learn with them. But that is what will help you grow in both personal and professional career.
This is interesting, and the pace at which you are moving is mind-boggling. So this is a great session, Akash. I think I learned personally a lot. And while it is a podcast, honestly, I think it's more about me and learning what you guys are doing and sort of understanding how youngsters are building new world, right? So thank you, Akash, for joining us. This is super session.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to speak with you. Also, pleasure to share, what you're doing with outside world. I think. Thank you again.
Thank you.